Hey man,
Hello.
how you doing?
How are you doing? Very, very good.
Dude, we were
Welcome
way off.
back.
Thank you.
I know, yes.
I was in Hawaii. You were, what, shipping a product?
I was shipping a product. I was putting the last pieces, ribbon stuff on Visual Studio 2013.
Congratulations,
RTM.
man. Variadic templates
Yes,
are
it's
real.
finally in an RTM version, right?
Wow,
it's kind
man.
of old story for us now because we are really looking at the next C++ 11 features we are working on. But we have industry, quality, variety templates, and a bunch of other features that
Of course.
Now you can use in every code you want.
Awesome. Congratulations to you
Thank
guys.
you, thank you. Yeah, it was,
And
thanks for all the
actually-
feedback and all the bugs that were open for the CTP last year.
Totally.
That add tremendously, bring up the quality. So,
Yeah.
the upcoming CTP, we want to see the same level of, playing around with it.
And giving you guys real world feedback.
Exactly. So
And
we
you guys
fix
are
it
going to
up
start cranking out those
and
C++
cranking up.
14 features.
Exactly.
Right on.
They are in the list of herb presented.
Yeah, everybody
Both
saw
build
that.
and GoingNative, so that's great. Yes.
Right on, man.
Good. Yeah.
So let me ask you, there's also some diagnostic things in
Yes.
Visual Studio 2013 for C++ developers.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about like PDBs and symbols and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
But it, without getting into specifics, you guys can figure out what all those features are by just going to MSDN and looking at. Somebody wrote a nice list. It was on a diagnostics blog about what's new, and it's really nice to see a bunch of stuff for C++.
Yes.
Not just the canonical .NET.
Yeah, we try to do more profiling also for C++
rock and roll, man.
AMP. Yes,
Rock and roll.
So,
PDBs.
yeah,
Symbols.
PDBs, symbols.
What's inside of a PDB file?
Yeah, it's interesting because we looked a bit inside of all the information we stuck in the PDB. We actually take some time to put their things in there. So we put all the symbols, but we also put things like all the compilers which you use to compile a single file and that file that you compile, right? And so and all the include path to find all the includes to compile a translation unit, right? And so I'm saying we, not me, of course, I'm a manager. My guys went off and actually, gathered information from the PDB through the DIA, the diagnostic, interface that we have, and they actually gathered information, managed it, and created a project file.
Nice.
And so if you just have a PDB, now you can have a project file, and you can have IntelliSense on the XE or the DLL that is connected to the PDB.
Awesome.
So we kind of use it. I think it's a nice little tool, and it's out on the code gallery. So we'll add the link at the bottom of this presentation, so you can go and try it out.
Great.
Feedback,
So you said we, they. Why don't you take us through meet these people?
We go meet Bogdan, that actually is the dev lead behind this feature, and he's going to explain a little bit about what's up.
Rock and roll.
See you later. Hello, good morning. Good morning. Is it morning? No, it's afternoon. Okay, this is Alex Contenti again from Channel 9. Gabriel helping me behind us. You don't see us. We are beautiful. This is Bogdan Mihalcea. Always forget your last name.
Bogdan Mihalcea.
Okay, perfect.
Or Bogdan Mihalcea.
We've been working together for a long time. C++ IDE dev lead. And tell us more about yourself. When did you arrive in Microsoft also? I don't remember.
Yeah, I started in 2002.
Okay.
And for a long time, as you said, I worked in VC.
Yeah.
I think it was 2005 when I joined VC. And since then, I was kind of playing around IDE a lot.
Right. You worked on the graphics tools?
I did graphics too as well, a little bit. I did IntelliSense, Project and Build, Resource Editor.
Native multi-target. Oh, Resource Editor.
Resource Editor,
So
yes.
maybe we should talk about
Long
your
time ago.
favorite
Long time ago.
So if you have any Resource Editor favorite feature, just ask Bob.
Yes, ask me. Right.
But today we are not here to talk about Resource Editor, right?
No, today we want to talk about a mini prototype that we decided to ship in Code Gallery for Visual Studio 2012. And it's all about this extension that will add support for PDB projects.
So PDB project, what are these?
So
what do you mean?
one thing, actually, I will start more describing what's the current problem customers are facing, right? So if you are in a situation where you don't have the project available, the vcxproj file that we can open in Visual Studio, or you have your build system based on another kind of project,
Right. Or you just call cl.exe with
right.
or mmake or whatever.
So if you are in one of those situations, then it becomes difficult for you to get support from IntelliSense in Visual Studio. Any kind of editing, any kind of browsing, understanding your code is very limited at that time.
Right.
So
Go to definition, find the reference.
Find the references. Sometimes simple facts like just go do definition F12 and then you have to actually do a finding files rather than do something else. So one prototype we had internally just to see if we can actually do something quickly for this kind of scenario was actually looking at the PDB file. The PDB file contains enough information for us to be able to reconstruct at least the CL command lines and see the sources. So we decided to actually create this prototype that
so you can also reconstruct the /defines.
We can reconstruct the command line exactly how the CL seen it at the time of the build.
And you know the files because PDBs.
They are part of the PDB, yes.
Are used to debug.
So that will give us ability to generate automatically on the fly the VCX project. And at that moment, you are pretty much in the mode where you have a real PDB project called vcxproj, exactly the extension we use, and then the ID will work naturally with it.
Okay, cool. That's nice.
Yeah, there are obviously some limitations just because PDB doesn't have information related with linker, right? And with resources, you will not have any of these tools, so you cannot really build it. But I think it's a good starting point in case you want to migrate or you just want to browse and do IntelliSense with that specific project.
Do you want to demo that? Or?
We can demo it. We can demo later at the end after we finish the talk, but we can actually show a quick demo how the tool works with a simple app.
That's how I did that. So that's cool. So so this is right now available on Code Gallery.
Right,
so
we just ship it. We shipped it like a week ago, right? And you can go download it on Code Gallery. The name of it is PDB Project.
Okay.
And we already have downloads. Surprising, right?
Okay, good.
We have a lot of downloads there. People are happy. Some customers tried, and I like the quote from one of our customers saying that I was blind, now I can see. So, which says everything, because if you are in that situation with a significantly big code base, it's fairly difficult to actually go and have no support from IntelliSense. So
usually what I used to do is basically just put all the files in a project and kind of hope for
success. Yes.
Yeah, and plus you have to set all the include path right.
Right. Switches are tricky. Macros because of definition.
So you don't get all that. And with this one you do get.
Yeah, the command line being accurate, actually the IntelliSense you get, it's accurate. It's exactly what you want. It's not a guess.
Out of the, you don't have configurations though.
The configuration, but for this specific scenario, they are not impacting you that much because you will work with the configuration you have, right? Yes, we do have plans to actually detect some sort of configuration that you used to have, but given that configurations are customizable, it's almost impossible, right, to guess. The same story with platforms, right? So we can make a guess, an educated guess, but sometimes we can't really nail it. But given the command line being accurate, everything else will work because
so
defaults will not play here.
Go a little bit more in the details, right? So how did you do this, right? Is it easy to open up the PDB? I really don't know very much about PDB,
Yeah, so we use an API, right, provided by the team that actually does the PDB, right? It's called DIA, right, Debugger Interface Access.
Okay.
And from there it's pretty straightforward. You actually use that specific API to open a session, then you browse to the PDB, and then you get the command lines for your sources, right?
Okay.
You get the CL path, and you get
for every single source.
Working directly for every single source, yeah. And that's pretty much how we can back trace and construct the project using those.
And how do you find the sources are going to be CPP files that are going to generate. Well, actually, the sources are not only CPP files. If you have, like a vector, for example, you will find also in the PDB.
It finds everything in the PDB.
Include.
Yes. Yeah, and then we reconstruct the include paths from there.
Right. But you don't, so you have to rebuild the include paths from there?
Right, we have to detect the include paths and point you to the right locations.
But what do you do, for example, let's say I have a class definition in a CPP file, and then how do you find the declaration in the H file if there is no code, real code in the H file? Is it hard to find?
So once you have the command line and the include path, it will actually, IntelliSense will start processing the TU, right? And it will pretty much realize that that's the include path, and these are the headers.
That's true, because in the CPP file you do pound include.
Right, and then from there it will detect where the thing is, and then it will take you there. This is exactly the normal process happens for every project.
You're right.
As long as you have the correct include path and you have the correct list of sources, the TUs, the compiler, if you want the CPPs and the Cs, if you have them, then at that moment everything will just start working.
Technically, you're saying that the H files don't need to be part of your project files.
In theory, they don't. They don't. They are there more from if you want rapid access reasoning rather than for a real thing. Because if you remember, in our projects we have also the external kind of folder where we put all the headers that we discovered that are not part of your project. So there is no really difference between your own headers and the ones coming from, for example, from us, from VC specifically, or from MFC,
or Windows SDK.
Right. So, or from your extension,
or
whatever boost you have.
But that's interesting that if you have code in the include files, then these files will kind of show up in the PDB.
Correct.
For real. If you have inline code there, for example,
it will work exactly like your project. So from an IntelliSense point of view, it's exactly like you have a project and you build that PDB with that project. Now, the only thing that doesn't work is linker and obviously Sourceator and other tools that actually they are not really marked in any way in PDB, which again might be something we want to do if we have a lot of success.
Expand it a bit on that. What are you thinking of?
So for the future, we have like plans. I mean, there are many things we want to improve. Some things are actually achievable if you want with a quick return on investment, and things like, for example, the classic example, right? You debug. Then you hit a place in a PDB that you don't have sources for, then what do you do, right? So this specific functionality, if we wired it correctly, it will generate the project behind the scene, and you will end up actually having IntelliSense for the PDB that you didn't build. It's built by another team.
So you're debugging, and you just
you are debugging. You have, let's say, 6-7 PDBs on your current stack.
Because you have 6-7 DLLs.
Right, and then you start going down the stack, right? And then you hit a point where you're out of your source code, but you are in somebody else's source code that you have sources for in your company. You have the PDB, then you just go automatically generate that on the fly project, and then
and the idea is that right now you of course see the sources. But the sources are kind of dead, right? You just see the sources, you can step through them.
Exactly.
But with this PDB project in the background,
you automatically
become more live, right?
It will become like your own project. You'll end up having IntelliSense, be able to navigate, browse, understand the context better rather than just read the let's say that narrow space of understanding how the code works by just reading it.
That makes sense. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
So that's one of them. And then obviously there are many other things like classic integration that we can do with the TFS or with any other source control. Like sometimes the PDB contains information based on versioning, right? And we'll be able to either automatically download and cache locally those sources and then create a mini project out of that, right? So you can actually get, once you have a PDB from a specific build, you'll be able to download sources exactly of that build, the sources that build that specific thing. Maybe they're different than the ones you have locally, right? And then you can use it to actually understand that specific bug reported to you by an older version.
Right.
So
that's interesting.
That's yet another thing that we can do too. So then there are many things. We talk about a little bit of configuration detection, platform detection. They are not necessarily easy just because of the nature of how customizable it's MS Build overall in our build system. But I think we can do a little bit better there. So at least from an integration with Visual Studio is just a bit smoother.
Are you thinking about getting? I mean, usually the interesting things about the PDB is that you create the PDB for a certain configuration of your X or DLL. Right. Compile debug, you have the PDB for debug. You're compiling ARM, ARM retail, you have a PDB for that. Do you foresee a way where you can kind of merge the information from like two PDBs, the debug and the retail PDB, and kind of mix them together? So
into generating like somehow rebuilding. If we end up, because we have an idea of actually creating some sort of this, we are thinking about an opportunity to create this PDB project as more like a vehicle for converting. So in what you described, it's actually an excellent case where we can actually get multiple PDBs of all various configurations and generate the full final project that has all of them.
Right.
And in that moment, you have like a real project that will do IntelliSense, and you'll be able to select different configurations and so on. Yeah.
That are kind of connected to your PDBs, right? As many configuration as PDBs. That's
yeah, and this is a short-term achievable thing. Long-term, obviously, we have to work and add information to the PDB that will allow us to reconstruct a project that pretty much will be able to regenerate the same PDB by building it. That's the ultimate goal.
Something weird that you find in the PDB that you didn't expect to find, or everything went pretty smooth?
We didn't have, like, we had some experience playing with the PDB from various projects that we worked before, so we didn't have anything spectacular, given that actually we are not really stressing the PDB in any way. We just get the list of files and then we get the comments for all of them.
Symbols, you're not asking.
Right, we don't dig deep into. And one thing to mention that we require a PDB that's not stripped. Some customers, when they ship, which makes sense, right? They ship a stripped PDB so they protect their IP. What we expect, obviously, that you cannot use a stripped PDB to do it, but internal for your own company, we expect that you have your own PDB that's unstripped, so you can actually use it.
Is there something specific to create non-stripped PDBs?
No, it's the other way around. In order to create stripped PDBs, you have to use the PDB strip to switch to a CL. So, right. So it's interesting because as a workflow, something that's very valuable for us. That's why we use it. We use it internally for Microsoft, right? And we realized that, wow, actually this is something that maybe would be valuable. There were a lot of people from other companies asking us for a tool like this in various conferences that we went. And we realized that we are in the same situation with everybody, right? We are building using build servers, right, where we store the data, where all the PDBs are there, sources are there, right? And then you get bugs from testers that say, okay, this bug reproduces in this specific build, right? You as a dev, you don't have that infrastructure on your own machine, right? So either you sync and then you get in that mode where it's actually complicated. When in here, you open the PDB of the crash, and then you just go to the source, it automatically get mapped into the source control, right? Or source server, which is probably something that actually works even today in the version we have. You just map the file in the UI, I'll show you in the demo. You map there and then everything just happens and you get sources and IntelliSense starts working.
Well, that's pretty cool.
So some things, obviously, we mentioned a bit the cache. Today, for example, for that remote store, right, where you point to source it to a remote store, sometimes, it's nicer to have it locally, right? Just because of perf, you want to make sure that you don't have network playing into the parsing of your IntelliSense and so on. And you can have an option to do caching, right? So that might be another option we're thinking about adding.
All right.
But caching,
you don't have it right now.
We don't. But definitely caching will be used in the case where we have TFS streams, right? Where we need to have versioning depending files.
Maybe if the network becomes so fast.
Or you do it on the fly, but still.
It's interesting. Well, that's pretty cool. I mean, seems pretty useful too. Yeah, we had some internal customer pretty happy, and now we start pushing it outside.
Right. So we got some positive signs so far, right? So the tool being a prototype.
And it's basically an extension to Visual Studio.
It's an extension of Visual Studio 2012. As soon as we ship the next version of Visual Studio, we'll put one out that will work also with the new version.
And it's kind of integrated a little bit inside Visual Studio.
It is. As an experience, it's very smooth. It almost works like you say open project, and then you select the PDB, and then it just asks you to map, and then the map usually it's automatically for you if it's locally built. Then you hit build, and then it just happens.
And this really just it's a productivity scenario that we are thinking. We just want you to be quicker, to figure out where your files is and have the right
for investigations, quick investigation. This is an awesome tool we used, and also in the case you don't have, that's the critical one where you don't have a project system based on vcxproj.
Yes, that's a very important scenario that you can have, and we are fine with that.
Right,
and that's fine.
So now actually we open the door for that, right?
Yeah, because we want you to get the goodness of the. Of the IDE and the IntelliSense and so on.
That's true. Because remember, one of the classic feedbacks we get is that we have to maintain a parallel. Usually, what customers do in that situation, they create a parallel project, right? Yes. And then they have to maintain always. Every time when they change the real project, they have to maintain this kind of Visual Studio project in sync, and they have to change it. They forget, and then you end up in weird stuff. So
Or you can use CMake now.
Yeah, obviously there are other options too, but this is something that you're in that situation. It's a quick patch if you want for that specific gap in features. Now, one thing we want to do soon, or at least in the next release, is have a refresh. Right, as soon as you change the PDB, we will detect that and we will refresh the project, so you don't have to regenerate.
I see.
So
That's nice.
that's something that also it's something we're thinking about.
So we are looking for feedback.
Definitely, as long as I try it out, and we are looking for feedback. Being a prototype, if the feedback is very positive and people are excited about, we plan to invest in all these kind of cool features for the plan, right? So it's all about the excitement right
and
now.
if you don't like
Right.
it,
If
just
we don't
tell
like
us
it,
what
that's
you
good
don't
too,
like,
right.
or or this is useless, or this is super useful.
Right, because it will help us make better decisions in what we want to invest in the
Also,
next.
you can tell us a little bit more about our customer scenarios, or why they find it useful, because they have a billion files, or because they have just 3 files, but they don't care to create a project for that. It's actually, could be completely different scenarios that we didn't even think about.
Right, like single file if you want editing or something like that. Who knows? Like your
CL
case,
on,
just
hello-
build command line.
hello.cpp, Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, so you should see the demo.
Yeah, I will show the demo next.
Okay,
So,
nice. Well, it was nice to chat with you, and
I'm glad to actually we had the opportunity to also have a channel 9 about the extension. So hopefully
so we'll add something to VC blog.
we're thinking about doing that too, right?
Yes.
So we just want to spread the word
Exactly.
around so
do
people
the
know
same.
about it.
When you try this tool, do the same. Spread the word to your friends.
Right.
Cool.
We get many downloads, so then we can
There you go. And then
go do the features we
add more
want to it.
features.
Yes.
Exactly. So, well, thanks for taking the time to say. I'm looking forward to the demo.
Thanks for coming, guys.
And I'll see you later.
Okay, see you guys.
See you.
Bye. As I promised, we're doing a quick demo too. So let me demo you quickly how a local built application PDB will work. And I'm picking a previously built MFC file. And as you can see, just because I built it locally, the PDB has the right information and the tool is capable to map all the sources to the right location. Ask me to save, I will choose to replace the existing file. And then the sources will be listed here. And as you can see, IntelliSense kicked in, and then now I have full support for IntelliSense. I can go to definition, and I can start actually going and browsing my code. This was for a simple application. Let's look into a remote built application. That's a little bit more challenging scenario. I will pick one of our sources, specifically binary editor, and we'll try to demo based on that. So I picked the binary editor PDB. Being remote, I get asked to approve. And as you can see, one major problem that we don't have any mapping, right? So because the build server was using a local disk F, all our sources are actually unmapped. But what we can do is actually put the real path to the sources that we have, and pretty much that will force the tool to remap everything. I hit finish and I get prompted to save the project. I do, and the binary editor sources are here. So that being said, I can start browsing, and I have again full support for IntelliSense. I can do control comma and I type, and then we get real support that we are used with. And now an interesting other binary that we have, the compiler, one of the compiler binaries. And pretty much we'll follow the same pattern. This will be a second PDB open from the same build server. Now, just because I already mapped it before, when I open binary editor, the tool automatically remembers that path and it's mapping everything to it. And as it actually matches what I want, I will just hit finish. I get prompted to save. And then the project gets loaded. IntelliSense starts kicking in and parsing all the files. This being kind of a big code base. It will take a little bit, but that's kind of it. As you can see, IntelliSense kicks in, and as parsing happens, you start having access to a lot of information from the compiler. Cool. Thank you for watching.
Wow, man.
We are back.
A lot of cool people on the C++ team, I have to say. Very smart and very nice.
Yes, Bogdan is nice.
Right on, man.
We've been
Great
working
to meet
together
Bogdan.
for a while, yes.
Cool.
It's nice, yeah.
So give us a little summary, a little rundown of what we learned and what's coming up.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you saw also a little bit of the demo of how it works, interact with the IDE, but you know, the bottom line for me, that's why, you know, I'm a little bit passionate about this PDB project, even if it's small and, you know, it's mostly a test, a prototype for you to give us feedback, is really showing the direction we want to go, where we want to meet the customer really where they are, right? This tagline, but it means that you don't have to buy 100% in our build chain to get the goodness of the IDE. There is a lot in IntelliSense, in the database, in the code understanding, in the go-to definition, in the, you know, the colorization, the code, you know, for example, with the VS 2013, the, you know, the kind of the code lens, as we call it, you know, the tips that comes up immediately. All of that you can get, for example, if you just have a PDB, and for whatever reason you don't have the tool chain to build to have a vcxproj, we build it from whatever information we have. So
awesome.
You know, more of that we like to do, and so feedback is definitely welcome.
Yes. And you're getting really good at doing interviews, by the way.
Yes.
I see you're progressing over time,
right.
And you know, I'm looking forward to see that continue, man.
You know, I enjoy that. You know.
Right on.
I'm not, you know, probably as a clear speaker as you, but that's okay.
No, that's perfect.
Kind of, you know,
so one last thing, the compiler team is hiring.
Yes, you know.
Send your resume. You can actually send it to ctori@microsoft.com, and I can forward it along to the appropriate person. But there's a really a great opportunity for people who you might not be a seasoned compiler developer, but you want to learn, and you can learn from the very best. You need to be a programmer, obviously. So, and a C++ programmer would be kind of smart, nice. Or C. Let's not forget the most popular language in the world. Hey, man, rock and roll.
Thanks a lot.
And see you soon.